But it is also during this season that a lot of people suffer from loneliness. Because if you don't have that family, if you don't have that circle or group of friends, this is the time of season where you're most aware of it because everyone else is congregating and you're not. So, we're going to talk about how to deal with loneliness in this episode of the Good Guys Podcast. Josh, I'm going to kick it to you. Do what you will.
As you probably saw in the title of this video, we're going to be talking about, are you sick of being lonely? Are you sick of being lonely? Okay. I have a 3-part series with this. So I'm going to take the first part and just dissect it. So just to give you insight to what we're going to be talking about, I don't know if it's going to be a chronological order. I don't know if we're going to do this spread out, but we're going to be talking about 3 main points or 4 main points. What is loneliness? 3 types of loneliness, signs that you're lonely, and how to deal with your loneliness. So this is going to be maybe a 3-week, 4-week, because we want to, Coach will give this into you for 2.5 hours, but we're family men. And when you do anything on a Saturday morning, you have a limited time frame. Okay?
Absolutely.
So I'm getting right into it. Definition of loneliness is this. It says loneliness is a negative human emotion derived from unique and oftentimes complex situations where a person doesn't either recognize or respond to the friendship and presence of God. Loneliness is a negative human emotion derived from unique and oftentimes complex situations where a person doesn't either recognize or respond to the friendship or presence of God. It is the mental level below sadness, but above depression. This definition is dense. I might not even get past the definition. Let's break this down, BD. Loneliness is a negative emotion derived from unique and oftentimes complex situations. Let's break that down. Loneliness is an illusion. It's a false ideal. Because the Bible says it's in him that we live, move, and have our being. It is in him that we live, move, and have our being. It is in him, meaning that we're never alone. He is everywhere. He's omniscient, meaning he's all-knowing. He's omnipresent, meaning he's everywhere. He's all omnipotent, meaning he's all-powerful. This God of the Bible is everywhere. The Bible also says that he is a present help in a time of trouble. A present help, meaning that he's present and is fully able to help. There are certain people who's a present hurt, you know what I'm saying? But he's a present help. So loneliness is a mindset that bursts negative energy, negative emotion, because the mind is overly consumed with the fact that a person has nobody, or they feel like they don't have someone that understands, or they feel like they don't have someone that is intrigued or interested in them. So loneliness is a negative human emotion. It is not a God-given emotion. It's not a divine emotion, because a person who understands or recognizes the presence of God doesn't mind being alone because they have the best person with them. Loneliness is a negative mindset that produces a negative emotion that derives from unique and oftentimes complex situations. The mindset is understandable to a degree. If you don't understand God, I can understand, or if you don't understand the presence of God, I can understand why you may feel lonely at times, because loneliness comes from unique situations and oftentimes complex situations where the family foundation wasn't strong. Your father wasn't there. Your mom wasn't there. Certain foundations kind of contributed to a certain mindset that led you to a place of overly exalting a person in your life, or over exalting the idea of marriage, that you mismanage or misunderstand the purpose of your singleness. The good thing about life is, if you don't appreciate being alone, then you won't appreciate really anything. Because if you don't understand yourself, if you're not willing to be alone with yourself, but you always have the need to be with someone else, then you miss one key part of life, and that's personal development. You okay, BD? You look scared. Is all the technologies working?
Everything's good.
Okay. I don't want to go. I'll stop here. If I'll stop right here.
Nope. All systems are a go.
Let's go, kids. Continue. Where a person doesn't either recognize or respond to the friendship of God. I love that part of definition because it is our responsibility to recognize. It is his responsibility to be who he is. He doesn't have the responsibility to make it himself known. He says it's clearly seen in the trees, clearly seen in nature that I'm God. Like it's clearly seen that I'm here. So I've revealed myself to you from the beginning of time. I'm revealing myself to you when you look yourself in the mirror because you was created in my image. So there's all the clues. But when the mind doesn't recognize or respond to the friendship or presence of God, loneliness sets in. Okay. Let's keep going. Another part of definition is it says that loneliness is the mental level below sadness, but above depression. Now, why'd I put that? When you're in a lonely state, loneliness is the fruit of sadness. Sadness is the fruit of disappointment. Disappointment is the fruit of a false expectation or expectation that just wasn't met. So when you have a false expectation of a person, of a situation, of a season, and when that thing doesn't happen in the time frame that you believed it, disappointment happens. Most people are not built at the level of maturity to deal with disappointments. When disappointments happen and that person doesn't deal with a disappointment the right way, then you get into a sad state, a deep sadness. Sadness which lures you to reflecting on why you're sad over and over again. This produces a victim's mentality. This produces an excuse-making mentality. This produces I'm sick of being lonely mentality. Sickness happens after how can I put a germ of thought. Produce the sickness of mind. You see, y'all thought I was lost. Hey. But when the germ of a thought comes in the mind of a person, have you ever heard situations where you had the sniffles and a cough came upon you and fever was there? The doctor would tell you that the fever and the coughing and the running of the nose and the sniffle was just the fruit of a germ that was in you days prior.
That's right.
So when you allow germ type thoughts to come into your mind about why you are alone, then you would become sick of being lonely. You can put me in a Baptist church. You can put me in a Kojic church. You can put me in a non-denominational. I will teach the people.
That's right.
You got to attack the thoughts in your mind. Those germs that's going to try to make you being sick of a season that was meant to save you. It's a mental level below sadness, but right before depression. Depression is a deep press. A deep press. I'm pressing you deep into darkness. And that happens in the mind. Let's keep going. Satan doesn't want us to recognize or respond to the friendship of God, but instead to reach for friendships and relationships that are not supported by him. Anything that's not supported by God will fail you, which will lead to disappointment, which would then lead to sadness, which would then lead to X, Y, and Z. So when you do not decide to recognize that God is there with you in your singleness, is there with you, because there's some lonely people in marriages. Let me talk to the married folk. There's some married people right there that are lonely in marriage. That's why if you're sick of being lonely in your singleness, settle for the wrong one. You're going to be extremely stage 4 sick being lonely in a marriage. Because imagine coming home to a person and you are not noticed. You are not appreciated.
Right.
So we have to understand that loneliness is not just a single person's problem. Loneliness is a universal problem. But if you recognize the love of God and you engage it, it doesn't matter. It may disappoint you, but it will not sadden you. So Satan doesn't want us to recognize or respond not to the person of God, but the friendship that he offers. The Bible reads in John 15:15. Y'all didn't think I didn't have a text?
Okay.
The Bible, this is Jesus talking to his boys, and he's also talking to us. No longer do I call you servants, for the servant does not know what his master is doing. But I have called you friends. For all that I have heard from my Father, I have made known to you. God doesn't want servants. He wants friends. Because you can't trust servants.
Right.
They only serving you to get what they need to serve themselves. And then once they have served themselves, they out. He called us friends. Because when you become a friend of God and you see how friendly God is, man, you don't mind being alone. Now, there's a balance to you. Don't be too alone. You need accountability.
Right.
But you don't mind being alone. Let me get out of here. Get out of these points because I feel sometimes a preacher can be stuck in his introduction. 3 types of loneliness, and then BD can chime in. Thank you all so much for watching the Good Guys Podcast here on my YouTube channel. If you haven't already yet, make sure you subscribe to the Good Guys Podcast here. If you want to enjoy the rest of the content of this podcast, click this video over here. Make sure you hit the bell. Make sure you subscribe, leave a comment, a thumbs up. If you're watching this on Facebook, head over to YouTube right now. Type in the Good Guys Podcast. We'll love to see you over there. Subscribe, hit the bell, leave a comment, thumbs up. We'll see you over there soon.